today we're going to be taking a look at the new hate crime law in Scotland, also J.K. Rowling's response to it on Twitter. So J.K. Rowling calls for own arrest for anti-trans rhetoric amid Scotland's new hate crime law. And USA Today saying, as she continues to share anti-trans rhetoric, Rowling tested the law by listing 10 trans women, including a convicted sex abusers, and high-profile activists on X, saying they were men. But they are. So it's hate speech to recognize a biological fact.
I'm happy that she's speaking out against this. Having said that, she really needs to take up the lexicon, or she'll be doing as much good as the little girls when I was a teenager did, when they made the exact same type of rebuttals to anti-whiteism. When I was a teenager, there weren't criminal invaders running around with human legs and eating them and beating things with them. Okay, so this strategy doesn't work.
Who is protected under the Scottish Hate Crime Act? Women are not protected as a group, but the Scottish National Party...
Look at this, Rowling saying that women are not protected as a group. That's what her complaint. So it's this anti-white. Feminism is anti-white. It's a subset of the superset that is anti-whiteism. And the immediate concern of this billionaire who pretty much stole a story and in her Harry Potter, and Western civilization, i.e. white males, have made her a multiple billionaire. And who's she concerned? What's she concerned with? Not Western civilization. Females.
Led government in Edinburgh.
But just by the way, I'm totally sympathetic to Misha. You know, she's looking out at this totally insane world, and she's given, within the anti-white narrative, the worst things to think and say in response.
Edinburgh is looking at separate reforms to specifically target misogyny. Right, but first we must ban freedom of speech.
Okay, so big concern for the multi-billionaire Rowling is misogyny. How about you? How about we drain your bank account for the public coffer? How about we do that? How about we put you on trial for pushing anti-whiteism with your story? How about we do that? Linda's asking what story. You'll have to go and find the lawsuit that was filed by the American author who wrote Harry Potter under a different name before she wrote any of those. And they bought that guy off. It was after the second book, I think. They bought that guy off. Check it out for yourself. Maybe I have a totally flawed, the ear is against the door recollection, but also look at all the similarities to Star Wars. Spud says, do you think this was intentional when it was first emerging? Because it seems far-fetched to have just emerged organically and turn into such an all-encompassing system. What do you mean, Spud? Do you think this was intentional when it was first emerging? Anti-whiteism? Just give me a little clarification, and I'll happily speak to that. But yeah, I remember back during Harry Potter when it was, I think it was after the second book. Or wait, the third book, I think. I think it was, she had published 2 books, the first 2, and they hadn't done much of anything in the UK. And then it was whatever American firm came along. And then that's when the American author came forward with a lawsuit that said, hey, this is mysteriously identical to my story. And they were like, well, here, just go away. We're not going to make your story big. So just take some money and go away. Hyperborean Jim is here. Hello to you.
Comes to trans people. That's more important. The Hate Crime and Public Order Act makes it an offense to stir up hatred with threatening or abusive behavior on the basis of characteristics including age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, and transgender identity. Racial hatred was already banned under a law dating from 1986.
I'm very proud of the Hate Crime Act coming into force. It gives people the protection they need against hatred, which we know is far too pervasive, far too common.
The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white.
Every High Court judge.
So, like she or somebody stitched this together to demonstrate the hypocrisy. Okay. Look, they're against racial hatred, but then they name the white race. You're just going to stick with the abstraction, are you? You've said before that they're anti-white, so let's keep doing that. That's what needs to be said. People will defend their essence. They're not going to defend or fight against the abstract or for the abstraction. Yes, he's a vile anti-white POS. That's what he is.
White. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white.
That is not good enough.
Scotland's ethnic makeup is actually 95% white. Seems completely lost on this Scottish dictator.
So that's another, like this poor lady here. Like, again, it's with like these points about, let's look at the data. How many white people? Let's look at the hypocrisy. And then that's the argument until I came along.
The maximum sentence is 7 years in prison. So here's what J.K. Rowling said on X.
7 years in jail. And aren't they doing something similar in Canada? So 7 years in jail at the discretion of an anti-white tribunal. They decide, well, did you make people dislike transgenders by your criticism of transgenders? Who has been telling you for decades to focus on us and to demand an end to our victimization, not an end to the people? I swear to God. And this was inevitable. It was inevitable. And I could see the writing on the wall so long ago. You want to go after the people? Okay, they'll make a law that says you go to jail for 7 years. And then you'll grumpily walk away with, oh, I should be able to say what I want. Abstraction. Sloth says, we all feel your pain here, brother, at the hypocrisy angling. Yeah. Thank you. Feel my pain. Feel my pain.
Or Twitter, Scotland's Hate Crime Act comes into effect today. Women gain no additional protections, of course, but well-known trans activist Beth Douglas, darling of prominent Scottish politicians, falls within a protected category. So here is this lovely transgender woman. I heard y'all hate trans women, knives and axes. Love from Glasgow. So cute. Trans women make Glasgow. Do they really? Okay, so you're posing with an axe and a knife. It's been real, y'all. I'm going to sleep. Hopefully when I wake up, it's good news. Be nice to yourself. Remember to breathe. And if you need some time out, take it. Direct action gets the good, and you can take the change by force. Lovely Scottish lass and convicted double has found her true authentic female self shortly before she was due to be sentenced. Was rightly sent to a women's prison in Scotland after conviction. This ensured she was protected from violent predatory men, unlike the 10-year-old girl Katie assaulted in a women's public bathroom. I have a different idea for what we should do to people who touch kids.
And you know why those standards are not there anymore? Misha, you know why we can't do it? You know, is because I'm not in charge. It's because our standards have been white erased. This is what we need to talk about. You can't talk about this. You talk about this individual. Oh, he went into a little girl's bathroom and exposed himself or fondled a little girl, some sort of horrible act or whatever. How horrible. And the state is so horrible because they're going to coddle him. That can't be the substance of the resistance. We are a people with a projection that are our norms and our mores. That's what's under assault. That's what's been white erased. That's why there are guys. There'll be another guy next week, and there'll be another guy 8 days in the future. There'll be another guy's 15-day in the future. There'll be another person running around with a severed leg in 14 days. This is what has come of us not being a people and demanding an end to our victimization, serving our individual well-being by way of our people's well-being. demonstrating the nutty buddy nature of this system isn't going to be enough.
But I won't say it on here. Samantha Norris was cleared of exposing her penis to two 11-year-old girls. Hooray! Unfortunately, she was then convicted for possession of 16,000 images of children being and sexually assaulted. Be that as it may, Sam's still a lady to me. Scottish woman and butcher Amy George.
So this is such excellent sarcasm from Rawling. She's reading Rawling's tweets. What sarcasm? You got him good, girl. You got him so good with your edgy sarcasm. Still a woman to you. Whoa, big change is coming. Big difference, a big change. She really showed them, didn't she? Except it's all going to remain in place. But there'll be cutouts for people like Rawling because otherwise they're great contributors to anti-whiteism. So Rawling will be able to contribute, will be able to push back a little bit here or there with some snark, some vicious snark. The weapon of choice of white losers, ladies and gentlemen, the total weapon of choice for losers.
Abducted an 11-year-old girl while dressed in female clothing. No idea why this was mentioned in court. Of course, she was wearing women's clothing. She's a woman. So let's talk about role models. Julia Valentino in red wanted to play on the women's team because of sisterhood, validation, and political visibility. Naturally, she was given some boring cis girl's place. Yay for inclusion. Yeah, I had no idea it was the one in red.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. I support men in all women activities. Because if there aren't biological men in these activities, destroying girls, which, by the way, part of anti-whiteism, I was told my entire life with absolute conviction that women can do everything a man can do better. They can do everything better. Guess that's not right. But if they have their if white ladies have their safe space cut out, then anti-whiteism will continue to march.
Katie Neves has been appointed as the UN Women UK delegate. She switched from straight man to lesbian at the age of 48, and in a leaked 2022 webinar described how she used to enjoy stealing and wearing her sister's underwear. A truly relatable representative. Obviously, the people mentioned in the above tweets aren't women at all, but men. She finishes with, I'm currently out of the country.
She's like, I just got done with my big snark. How'd you like my snark? How'd you like my swinging snark?
But if what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment.
Yeah, she can mock like that. You and I can't. Regular white person in Scotland, 7 years in prison. I mean, that to me is a huge insult for Rawling, who is anti-white. She wrote this giant anti-white story and propagandizing children. And very subtle, but you can see it in the story, the anti-whiteism. And I saw her in an interview where she said it. Disgusting. But here she is, this multi-billionaire, and she's like, I look forward to you arresting, knowing that they're not going to do shit to her.
Bill came into law yesterday, and the BBC understands that there have been several hundred complaints overall already. And this law, it makes it illegal to stir up hatred in Scotland relating to protected characteristics, including transgender identity. On Police Scotland, they've said that no action will be taken in relation to social media posts by J.K. Rowling.
Right, so what is meant by stir up hatred?
It's the hate monster. He'll make you want to vent your anger.
Where did that even come from? I just saw this.
Just because folk look or act different for you, you're better than them. Before you know it, you've committed a hate crime.
It indicates just how patronising the Scottish government are, because they're talking.
No, how anti-white and female the government is. This is a cartoon. This is how females will educate children. And this is directed to the general population. So it's indicative to me of how anti-white and female the government is.
talking to their own citizens as though they're children.
The Association of Scottish Police, he's come out warning against the practical difficulties of this type of legislation. The waste of police time when they should be going after what some people would call real crimes. The Police Scotland have already committed to investigating every single complaint.
How old are you? Don't have to type it in the live chat. We just got to get real. We just got to draw in here and get real. How old are you? Just say it in your mind. How many times have you heard the great Republican or conservative or patriotic leaders say, we need to be worried about the real threats, the real crimes? Hasn't that been your entire life? Ever since you started paying attention to politics? It's been your entire life, ever since you started paying attention. This is like the worst rerun that you have ever. This is Groundhog Day movie, as bad as it was, 10 times worse. This is the same losing, repeating garbage that I've been fighting against to change forever, against the inertia of the TARDIS masses. And you all, thank God for you all, because without you all, I would still be this lesser known, respected in the white sympathetic sphere, at least when I'm around and out thinking others, but lesser known and silenced entity. But I mean, your whole life, since you've been paying attention, you've witnessed the sarcasm your whole life. How many more times? What is it going to take? Cannibalism, child molestation.
Of this type.
Huge amount of power to the police to make those subjective decisions as to what's an offence or not.
You say, this is a biological male. Okay, this is a man. This is not a woman. You cannot change your gender. Let's say you believe that. If that offends that person, or if a neighbor heard you say that, they could report you.
Back in 2020, before the law passed, he explicitly said, are we comfortable giving a defence to somebody whose behaviour is threatening or abusive, which is intentionally stirring up hatred? Are we saying that that's justified because it's in the home?
They've set up as a reporting booth. There's in a sex shop. There's a mushroom farm very sort of.
So yeah, this is some of the most female and anti-white stuff you can imagine. Scotland. It's like anywhere that anybody is being naughty. Are they being naughty? I mean, it's just like anything. Are you diverging? Are you heretical at all to this anti-white narrative? Well, severe punishment for you. And if you're unsure, we'll put together this totally TARDIS cartoon for you.
The mad places, but they're encouraging people to spy on each other.
Yeah.
To go and report what people are saying in the pub, saying at home over dinner.
Franklin asked, First Last donated over on Cash App.
It's not quite clear how this law will be implemented. If you take a look at the violence against women, against young girls, and you're more concerned.
So why not talk about the violence against white people instead of women and girls? The violence against females of all races will return to its previous levels when we recapture our destiny as Western kind, because then we will reinstitute our standards for law enforcement and expectations of behavior and punishment for wrongdoers. We will reinstitute a lot of things that have been white erased. But if you're talking just about females in general, it's not going to get any better.
With not misgendering the rapist, the there's a problem. Because the rapist, let's say, decided to put on a wig after he committed the crime does not make him a woman. He will never be a woman, and he certainly does not deserve our respect, to respect his pronouns, or to put him in a female prison. If you claim to care about women, then you should be speaking up against this nonsense. If you claim to care about truth, about reality, then you should speak up against this nonsense. I really respect
truth and reality abstractions, if you care about these abstractions, then you'll do something. That's not how the human animal works. That's not how it works.
Rowling for continuing to speak the truth, and we have to keep talking about it because so far it's only getting worse. You think this is just going to happen in Scotland?
Continue to speak the truth.
But no, it's going to spread like a virus until enough people voice their concerns. So I'm very glad that she continues.
When I was a teenager, heard that. Got to speak truth. And then this will continue until enough people speak truth.
To talk about this. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this new law, so please make sure you comment. Also remember to
How does truth and data and facts, how's that done for you? It's kind of like the psychological warfare whoops the shit out of it, isn't it?
like the video.
All right. Let's continue. I think we got Fox News up next. I'll get rid of that video. On the same subject, we'll see if they have anything more to add.
New law aimed at cracking down on hate speech is now in effect in Scotland. The Hate Crime and Public Order Act creates a new crime of, quote, stirring up hatred related to age. A controversial new law aimed at cracking down on hate speech is now in effect in Scotland. The Hate Crime and
So cracking down on hate speech. Hate speech is one of their concepts. If you use their concepts, you legitimize their ideology.
Public Order Act creates a new crime of, quote, stirring up hatred related to age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. You break this law if you communicate or behave in a way, quote, that a reasonable person would consider to be threatening or abusive. And get this, prosecutors only need to prove that stirring up hatred was likely rather than intended, kind of up to the eye of the beholder. Critics warn it will have a chilling effect on free speech, and one of those critics,
not a chilling effect on Western kind, not a chilling effect on Western civilization, the product of Western kind, but on free speech.
Is Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who lives in Scotland. She's practically daring police to arrest her for her views on gender, writing, quote, freedom of speech and belief are at an end in Scotland if this accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace.
Wow. I just heard one of them say, wow. Wow, she's so brave, the multi-billionaire.
Of the Scottish Enlightenment. We do have a response from the police in Scotland. We'll pull that up now. A Scotland spokesperson tells us this. We have received complaints in relation to J.K. Rowling's social media posts. The comments are not assessed to be criminal and no further action will be taken. She's free, Harris.
Oh my gosh. I mean, they have to explain freedom.
Braveheart? He yelled it, didn't he?
Freedom. Oh my gosh, Braveheart.
Yes.
Favorite.
Yeah. He fought it. That's what he yelled right before he won. I don't want to give away the ending.
I think Mel Gibson would love if you would, so we'll all go scramble and see the movie again. Make him even richer. Look, I mean, I just hope we're not watching this so that we have to learn some of the same lessons. We have people in this country who lose their job when they misidentify someone, whether it's not, it's accidental. They're not really sure what's before them. You guys have seen the videos. I mean, there's several that are in pharmacies that are on YouTube where people are very angry because they've been called the wrong name, so on and so forth. So this is going to be troubling. This is like yelling fire.
How many times have you heard, this is troubling?
If you got cast. A couple of things. The Scottish actually set the foundation for education in our country because they taught the founding fathers. So it's kind of scaring me that the Scottish are leading the charge on the worst series of hate crime laws in the history of planet Earth. Also, I think it's also noteworthy that Prime Minister Sunak,
using their concepts, use their terminology, you legitimize their ideology. You know how much contempt, I guess, that was held for me because I advised people over the decades not to use their terminology.
Backs J.K. Rowling's. He says, we're conservatives over in the UK. We're not, we don't go for this at all. And the whole misgendering thing, if you don't put the right pronoun, you don't refer to us. I thought that was a phase. I thought we're out of that phase. I know the biggest turnoff I get is to get an email with the gender, with the pronouns in brackets. It makes me not want to answer it right away.
Well, I get called Mr. Harris Faulkner all the time. I mean, I have a man's name.
What?
First
And
name.
do you
should
sue?
sue.
No, I just say it's Ms.
Right.
If you're nasty, it's Miss Jackson. No,
That's
I'm kidding.
right. Emily, there have
Thanks,
actually
Janet.
been calls. There's this Reuters headline. This is from March 7th. Transgender broadcaster reports J.K. Rowling to police over social media comments.
I mean, first of all, I was called him the other day to my.
If you wrote half of what Rowling wrote, you'd go to jail for 7 years in Scotland now. Guarantee you, I'm going to be getting messages from losers saying, your words are not, it's not the way to go. The time now is violence, as they do nothing. We need like one of those trumpets used in the Bible to just blare on that thing when these people just keep repeating the exact same hamster wheel nonsense.
My face, but in that person's defense, I think English was their second language, so I took it in grace. I was like, "That's okay. You call me him anymore, or whatever. It's fine." Look, the bottom line is what you're talking about is clogging the law enforcement system because people have their feelings hurt. That's a travesty.
That guy, what's his name again? It'll come back to me. Nice tie, but he cannot tie a knot.
And I pray that because of those floods of calls, there isn't someone who actually needs
Kilmeade.
help, an actual emergency where police can't get there in time because they were busy fielding a phone call from someone crying who got their feelings hurt from a tweet. And I point out when we talk about this in this bird's eye view, what isn't being done while everyone is obsessing over being offended? Never mind what we are taught, which is be slow to offend and quick to forgive. A lot. Remember that Democrat lawmaker, for example, in Virginia, who stood up, huffed, and stomped out instead of continuing to legislate because that person was accidentally misgendered. Remember that? So, I mean, the list goes on. California, professors, and the like. So know where your tax dollars are being wasted and how evil is.
Yeah, the problem is that the tax dollars are being wasted and that the police will be busy with these cases. But don't worry about it, honey. The anti-whites will use the tax dollars to create new departments in the near future that will hunt down white people for being heretical to anti-whiteism. There'll be a few non-white people that will be collateral damage to it as well, but make no mistake. The real crimes, I think, what this cupcake needs to understand, the real crimes in an anti-white system are the crimes of heresy against anti-whiteism, not raping, not murdering, not child molestation, not cannibalism. It's the crimes of heresy to anti-whiteism.
Laughing at us because while this is being stirred up, they're just pouring across all the open avenues of how to plot our demise next. This is the first major step.
Lauren, a former advisor to Boris Johnson, he told Fox News Digital that Scotland continues to infringe upon the right of her citizens to speak freely. This bill will force police to investigate.
Do they still have shows on the news that it's all men? Do they still have, or is that a thing of the past? Like a group of men, or I should say males, where you're going to find men these days. I guess just here in this community, but do they do that anymore? It's like everywhere you go on, like the Twitter spaces too. It's like all females in charge, all females clucking at each other about the nicest way to go about, the least aggressive way. Like, whatever you do, don't talk about victimizing white people.
Those who misgender someone in a country riddled by knife crime with one of the lowest life expectancies in Europe, you would think the Scottish government has more important things.
Oh, the juxtaposition. Don't you think the government, have you heard that 10,000 times? Don't you think the government has more important things to do?
To focus on, but no, they're desperate to pander to an extremely small group of men in dresses who feel offended when they are not referred to as women. But he goes on to make a really important point. Where are the laws protecting women and stopping men from entering into female sports competitions? Where are they?
What I was going to say. How?
I did not plan this, but wasn't it inevitable? I didn't watch this yet. I think we're done watching it. I think the biggest point that could have been made was just made. The resistance to anti-whiteism is anti-white. Rowling said it. Petrov said it. Fox News, outnumbered, just said it. Where is the laws against victimizing women? Where are the laws against misogyny? Where are the laws? So the resistance to anti-whiteism is anti-whiteism. Things are going to go well.